So, I was watching this documentary, and it was talking about like how France was for so long under this alcoholic haze because even the children and whatever, like everyone was drinking alcohol because before like the invention of tea and coffee, very few people had the idea to like boil the water. So like water wasn't really safe to drink. So they would use wine and beer to kind of help clean the water to make it drinkable. So like even the kids and everyone was like drinking. Like so when coffee was introduced to France and coffee houses started getting popular, they talked about how for the first time France was out of its alcoholic haze, and like people could see and now look and see that they were in this alcoholic haze. So it's I thought of this when I made my last video talking about the lotus eaters theory, but like it's like, well, Egypt was under a certain level of consciousness because of them eating the lotus flower. Like Greece and Athens, like those philosophers were under a certain level of consciousness because they were eating the lotus flowers. I also found out that motherwort, so I use motherwort spiritually and shamanically. In the Americas, they used motherwort to help women, and like that's why it was called motherwort. And in Greece and Athens, they used motherwort as a heart medication thing. So, like, motherwort's been used for many different things over the thousands of years, but like, it made me think, well, even if they were just using motherwort for the heart or whatever, people who had heart issues or whatever, like, that would have people under a certain level of consciousness because the motherwort also has this level of consciousness where it's like this nice calm um just I don't know, comfortable vibe, and but it also has a certain level of consciousness. So like when you think about it shamanically, it's like, well, shamanically plants have personalities, and like the way I look at it is when you take a plant, you almost can feel and get a gist of the plant's personality. But it's like that saying, you are who the people you hang around, and it's like if you hang out with a bunch of thugs, you might start getting tendencies of thugs. If you hang out with a bunch of hippies, you might start gaining some tendencies of hippies. But if you hang out with the motherwort plant, you might start gaining tendencies of the motherwort plant. If you hang out with the ayahuasca, the mushroom, the blue lotus, the cannabis, the coffee, the alcohol, whatever, you might start gaining some like personality traits of the thing you are hanging out with the most. So like people who trip, they all have a certain thing to them. Like obviously everyone's a different person. But it's that thing where it's like all meth heads are like meth heads. Like I don't know how to explain that. But it's because these certain molecules also like might change your lifestyle, change your way of thinking, change your personality. So like if a whole city like France was under the alcoholic haze for that while, the whole city was under this alcoholic haze, so no one would have noticed. Like that because everyone would have had this certain level of consciousness to them. Um, it's this thing that I think that the plants that we use and the molecules we use really do like not just change our personality, but are a part of our personality. And this is kind of just how it is. Because it goes down to even food. Like even down to food. Like, because I'm talking about molecules that have an immediate notice to them. Like you take, you drink, you have an effect. You take the lotus, you have an effect. You smoke cannabis, you have an effect. These are things with immediate notice. But some plants that are considered food also have things that are beneficial in them, And some things, plants that taste good, or things that taste good, might not be as beneficial. So, like, the people that are getting more nutrients in their diet, the whatever, might have a different level of consciousness, or different way of thinking, or different way of living, or different way of being than the people who eat horribly type shit. Like, and what I mean by this different way of thinking and different way of being is also like this thing where I seen this video where this dude was talking to, went to this African tribe, and he was telling them like, well, I could take you back to, you know, America and, you know, whatever. And the dude was like, America? You're talking about the place where people want to jump off of buildings and want to kill themselves? Like, I don't want to go there. And then like I'm dying laughing because like it's like these poor people with the huts and dirt floors, they're happy, bro. They're good because their level of consciousness is dictated by their lifestyle, by the plants they're using, the food they're eating, what they're doing. But they see that they're like, well, that lifestyle over there in America, that shit seems to be killing the people. Like, they hate their lifestyle so much that they want to kill themselves. And that wasn't a thing in that tribe. Like, it didn't matter. Like, we would have looked at that tribe and been like, if we lived there, we would have been miserable. But that's because we were raised in this society that has a certain way of thinking, a certain way of being, and a certain way of living. And certain molecules that we use and whatever, because alcohol is so normal to Americans or to the world that it's kind of sad. Well, the world has a more idea of plants and herbs, but America has this idea of like alcohol being like the only okay drug. Like, it's so socially acceptable that even people that drink every day, they don't really get much slack. You know, because they're like, oh, it's fine, you know, it's whatever. It's just a beer a day. But, like, obviously, if a heroin addict was like, you know, it's okay, it's just a shot a day, like, that'd be an issue to the person who drinks, you know, the alcohol every day. But there is no issue with anybody. It's just everyone needs to be conscious that the molecules that you share the most time with will affect your personality, and some of them don't have a good some of these molecules and some of these plants don't necessarily have a good personality for you to have that personality every day. So like, it wasn't a good idea for the alcoholic haze that France was in, but it was the only way, because they were scared of drinking the water and they thought of the easiest way to clean the water: put some alcohol in it. But it had the kids and everybody and whatever in this alcoholic haze. So once coffee was introduced, tea was introduced, like once these more like things that promote conversation, like coffee houses are the things that kind of started these like conversations to fix certain problems in cities or fix certain problems in whatever. Like, before France, you know, when France was in the alcoholic haze, the conversations you have in a bar was completely different than the conversations you have in a coffee house, even if it's the same people having a conversation, because these things affect the consciousness. So that's why I was talking about with the lotus theory, you know, how I think the people that were eating the lotus flowers, this is what kind of helped promote deeper thinking, deeper conversations, looking at things from different perspectives, like, you know, how the stone date theory and all these different theories, they're all, I feel like, going down the same alleyway of, well, molecules affect human consciousness in ways that we can't even barely imagine. Like, because it's more than just what I'm saying. It's just, I'm only talking about what I can talk about. But, like, yeah, it was just watching that documentary made me think, well, man, what haze are we under now? And it's like, well, I think we're under a cannabis haze, which is great, right? But, like, ever since the legalization of cannabis, right, like, we've been under this, like, cannabis haze, or we're starting to. which is great because once we got under the cannabis haze, it's almost like psychedelics started to become decriminalized to certain places, like in America, because it's almost like the people, there was like, well, weed's legal. There was like, let me smoke this. The government was probably, oh, this ain't that bad. Fuck it. Might as well decriminalize the shrooms too. Like, but, nah, I'm joking, but, nah, for real though. I really think that we need to just be aware of how these things are affecting us and how we're going to move forward with these things. Like, it really is all about balance and all about, like, whatever, and figuring out you, because the choices are endless, but the molecules you use do affect your consciousness. So be consciously aware that you are changing your consciousness. Like, we say that, but we don't think about it in a, like, deeper way. That we're changing our personality. Like, so just be aware of how much you're doing whatever you're doing, and it's fine. If you smoke weed every day, you will gain the personality of a person who smokes weed every day. Which is, it's fine, whatever. Whoever, we all get the freedom of choice to do whatever. But as a whole people, we need to be aware that these plants and molecules are affecting our way of living, our way of thinking, the way the people, just the way we feel, whether we have anxiety or whether we're happy. It's down to lifestyle, what you're eating, the molecules you're using, what you're doing, like what you're thinking, and a lot of that is affected by the molecules that we use.